Welcome to the Instant Ink Comic Book Podcast. This is the show where together we put together a one-page comic live on the spot. We don't know what we're going to do yet. We've just met now. We haven't talked about anything. We're just going to get a prompt. We're going to come up with a story. Roberto's going to draw it. And then at the end of this, we'll have a really cool piece of art to share with everybody. My name's Adriano. You can find me at Pesto Comics on everything online. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, whatever you find, at Pesto Comics. Or just go to pestocomics.com. You can find everything there. And as always, joined by my co-host, Roberto. Roberto, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Roberto Viacava. I'm a comic book artist, and you can find me on my webpage, robertoviacavaillustration.com, or by my name on different social media. And I'm the creator of Voyager, that issue 3 is already sent out. I'm preparing a fantasy anthology to launch on Kickstarter. I don't have the date yet, but it will be soon. It's called Realm Travelers.
Right on. And with that, today we are joined by Chris. Chris, if you'd like to introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, my name is Chris O'Hara. I am the co-owner of a small press indie publisher, a comic book publisher based out of Southwest Florida with my partner, John Shell. Yeah, we started this not that long ago. And I'm a writer. My partner is also a writer. So that's the majority of our books so far are just self-published writing books that we've done. And then we've brought on a handful of other people's works, which has been exciting and a lot of fun. You can find me similarly, just Bent Box Comics everywhere. So Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram. Thankfully, no one had that yet. So Bent Box Comics, and you'll find
That's some good SEO. Yeah, that's why I picked the strange name myself, just to make it available everywhere.
Perfect.
Right on. I gotta say, yeah. So I am a fan of Artificial came out by you guys. That was really good.
Yeah. That was mine.
Right on.
I'm glad you like
excellent
it.
book. So let's get started. We'll go into the prompts now. I'm gonna share my screen. I want you to ignore what comes up first because those don't count. So I'm gonna hit this button, and then we're gonna see what pops up. I'll read these out. All right. So we got Secret Whispers. What everyone is whispering about. The puzzle. Write something that the answer isn't known until the end. Dear Diary, we're gonna skip. And Dragon Breath, we're going to skip. Oh, they're starting to repeat a lot. Okay, and we have Frame It. Write about a painting that speaks to you. So, of the 3 that are available, are any of those sounding interesting, or do we need to bring up some more prompts?
I really wanted to do Dear Diary, but you skipped it. No, I'm kidding.
I tell you what, if you really want to do it, you can do it.
No,
I'll pull you away from...
I think we're going to have to find some other prompt generator because it starts to repeat a lot.
It's starting to happen more and more.
Yeah. I honestly like the puzzle sounds interesting and more of a challenge. And then Frame It sounds fun, mainly because I'm considering, but the problem is I'm going to screw this up. And that's why I'm almost going to say don't do it. But there is a painting I discovered. This guy made basically twin paintings, like almost a heaven and hell series. A long time ago, they were stolen, and then they found their way back to the painter. It's a wild story, and they're crazy looking paintings. So I was almost like, that would be a cool one to look at, but I don't remember the name. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd be able to find it, which would be the hardest part. That would be interesting. I'd be interested in seeing another prompt if you want, and then keep that in the back of my mind.
Okay, let's do that. Again, this is just a starting point. We're not married to anything. So let's refresh them. Okay, so I'm going to read them out one more time. We have Animal Crossing. What happens when 2 different animals cross paths? Sugar Addict. Write about your favorite dessert from the dessert's perspective. Mirror, mirror. Write about the most beautiful thing you can imagine. Now, the cleaner we've done, so that's another skip. And then peek outside. What is going on outside at this moment? All right. So we were keeping a couple in the back pocket, but how about any of these? Are these speaking to you?
I do like sugar. Which one did you say? One of them was a
copy? The cleaner was a
duplicate?
Copy.
The cleaner. Okay.
And again, if you want to borrow that, that's fine. We'll just have to steer you away from what we already did. But in that case, I would be very surprised if we happen to cross what we did with that prompt. That one's
okay. We can do peek, and I have a prompt in mind that intercedes well with it. That I don't know if Roberto has ever done any kind of like more creepy style art before, but maybe I'll test him.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Peak outside.
I like that
Let's
one.
go with that. All right. So Roberto, when you can share your screen,
Yes.
and then let's start brainstorming this. So, yeah, you sound like you have something really specific in mind.
Unfortunately, the main reason that popped in my head, and once again, I'm glad this isn't live. Maybe it might be fun live, but you can cut around some of this stuff. But it wasn't today, but it was yesterday. But I'm worried that it's still happening today, so that's why I'm going to allow it to apply.
Okay.
But last night we had like a nice rainfall that happened, and the water was covered in dew. Or no, it was at nighttime. It was covered in water, droplets everywhere, and we have ducks. So I live in a rural area, so we have ducks. So I went to go handle my ducks, and as I'm walking around, I have my flashlight, and I look over, and the ground looked like it was just diamonds, just like and I'm not saying like a couple. I'm saying it was like thousands of diamonds. It was just sparkling, and I was like, "Oh wow, the rainwater looks really cool. That's interesting." And so I'm like looking at it, and I didn't think anything of it. Went and handled my ducks, which are like 40 house. As I'm walking back, I catch one. I catch the glimmer in the flashlight. I'm like, "What are you?" So I just now, and so I just zone in on it, walk up to it, get real close, and I get over it, and they are baby spiders.
Oh no! No.
Thousands upon thousands of baby spiders. So what I was seeing was literally the flashlight reflecting in their eyes. And so I'm doing this, and the second I see that, so this wasn't that long ago, and so I'm praying it's not happening right now outside. But all I know, I don't like spiders. I don't know. Most normal people
and
don't.
Not in that quantity.
No, I like freaked out, dude.
Ooh.
I was not having it. And I realized that I had just walked through like
the
yard a bunch. All I knew is they were probably all over me. I was just losing it. So anyway, yeah. And then the funniest part was like I'm standing out there, and my neighbor, he's this Cuban fella. His name's Sip, older guy. He's like in his 50s. Super nice guy. So I'm sitting there, and he's just out there working on his truck. I'm like, Sip. And I go to him real fast, and I'm like, do you see what I'm seeing? And because I thought I was going, and so I'm just shining it over the thing. I have this little peon flashlight, and he goes, oh, yeah, those are spiders. And I'm like, what do you mean those are spiders?
Totally normal.
How do you know? He knew that's what was going on, which blew my mind and made it worse,
Yeah.
to be honest. It wasn't
like,
comforting.
Why are you so okay
it was
with
just
this?
like, oh, yeah, those are spiders. And then he just added insult to injury. He went and grabbed his like mag. It's like this big, and he goes, "Here, let's see." And he like pops it on, and it's just a sea of diamonds, but spiders. Anyway, so that happened in my yard right now outside. I'm assuming it's outside right now because I haven't sprayed for bugs yet. But so I don't know what we want to do with that.
That's quite an inspiration, though. Jeez, I don't. Ugh.
I had a plan to do a like single page creepy story on it because as a writer, because you're well, and so it just popped into my head. But I did imagine some form of maybe walking his dog or something. Not an exact 1-to-1 match to some kid handling ducks, but walking his dog outside at night with a flashlight with a similar thing happening. I don't know how it would work, but maybe showing a glimmer, having him peek in, and then showing a little spider. And then the way my brain thought to end it was maybe because I live right across from a forest, which is just makes it even worse. But I just imagine him walking by the forest and then just hearing a whisper. Mm-hmm. And as he gets towards the forest, like one of the tree branches that you see is and I was imagining it just lift up and it's just like a giant spider leg. So it's like the mom is in the forest and all of her babies are in the yard. Yeah. And then it like ends like that. Have you ever played the game? Not Limbo. Was it Limbo?
Limbo was that like black and white one.
Yeah. The main like antagonist in it was this giant spider cross. And I've always stuck out to me where there's a scene in the game where you walk up to a tree branch that's just sitting there and you're like, what is that? And it lifts up and then just it kills you. It stabs you in the head. It's a dark game. But that kind of popped into my head immediately that I had a billion in my yard.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Hey, we can go in a very different direction.
No,
if
that's
you want.
great.
But
It works.
that was the first thing that popped up.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense why it would.
And I don't know if I want to visualize it, Roberto. So
Roberto's gonna make it real in your head now.
bring my nightmare to life. Thank you.
I'm gonna exercise it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, geez.
Ugh. Yeah.
Do you get rural Florida? So you're getting what kind of wildlife are you getting there?
Everything. Yeah. So that's the other. I've compared it to, and I think a lot of people have compared it to, basically the Australia of America.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Where we have. So they weren't huntsman spiders that I could tell. I don't know if you're familiar with what a huntsman spider is. Don't Google. I just warn you right now. But we get those, and they are the size of your palm.
Yeah.
So we get those, and they find their way into your house. They're big fans of just sitting in a corner, and it's a nightmare, dude. And so we get those. We get raccoons. We get skunks. We get alligators. We actually have a otter in the pond right next to our house. Yeah. And we just see it dip in and out every once in a while. We get ducks, all kinds of birds. Dude, we get a lot of snakes, a lot of animals and reptiles and stuff. You don't like snakes?
Man, no. We get nothing here. I'm in Toronto, so we get raccoons.
Okay.
We get coyotes and stuff too, but they keep for themselves.
Yeah.
But we're getting the urban ones. Not much by snakes or giant spiders or anything like that.
Count yourself lucky. Yeah. I just if it wasn't I love Florida, but the weather and the insects and wildlife stuff is the main down. It's just so stinking hot. Obviously, you get the hurricanes. Yep. We just had one not that long ago, and then the wildlife is a little nutty. That's my one downside to Florida. I'm not a fan of that.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, my experience with Florida is the Disney World rather, but barely that's nice. Florida. And I've been to a Panthers game, Florida? So that's my extent of.
There you go. Yeah, we got Panthers. Panthers are a thing here.
Yeah, I've seen the NHL team, but I haven't seen an actual panther.
A real panther, yeah. I've seen one before crossing one of our roads. It's wild, yeah. We get bobcats, we get the big things, large eagles and vultures, and I don't know. We're a kind of crazy place.
Sounds
to be
honest.
Yeah, but it's fun. I like it, but especially because I'm more familiar, I guess, or comfortable around these things, except for spiders. That's never going to happen. I don't think I have it in me to be oh, let me handle that spider. No, it is, honey, get the spider. Honey, wife, get the spider. I don't do spiders, but snakes, we have a black racer, if anyone's familiar with those, but they're harmless. But yeah, I love catching them.
Wow.
Me and the kids will hang out with them, and we'll let it wrap around your hand. They're harmless.
That's fair.
Yeah, so they're bigger too, or they.
Yeah, for me, I don't know any. To me, snakes are so foreign, but the idea is concerning, right? It's they're all bad, but
no, they're chill. And I went to a private school where anything can happen. They fly by the seat of their pants. And one day, our principal brought in a snake he found in the back to scare one of the teachers because the teacher didn't like snakes, and he just wanted to prank the teacher, which was funny. And I was one of the students. And this is honestly one of my first interactions with a snake. Of course, the snake, he mishandles it, and it was a big snake. It was probably, it was thick. Probably, I don't even know how to describe a Coke can.
Yeah.
Thick. And it got lost in a classroom, so we shut the door, and we're like, what are we going to do? And I wasn't really scared, but I offered, and me and the principal and myself went into the room to catch the snake with just our bare hands. We didn't have anything. I grabbed the snake. It was sitting in the corner. The other guy was distracting it. So I know what to do. I know to grab it. That way it doesn't flip around. I do that. I do it real quick. I was not prepared for the strength of this thing. It wiggled out immediately and just latched onto my hand. Just took a nice just fangs in. But it was just one of those things. I was like, whoa. And the principal was like, no, that's just a snake. I don't even remember what it was. It's not poisonous or anything like that. He goes, just squeeze it by the neck. It'll let go. And so I do that. I let go. A little bit of blood. But that's the thing you do in Florida. You do weird stuff, and then you're not really worried about it anymore. I'm not scared of snakes anymore. Snakes are kind of cool.
That'll get it out of you. Yeah, that's fair.
There's my story.
Yeah, no, like I said, totally different world to me. Like
Yeah.
the Florida I know is very polished, and Disney makes sure you
Yeah,
don't
it's far
see any
from
of that
polished,
stuff.
man. Yeah, it's far from
Yeah,
polished.
but yeah. So you like I
I
grew up
already
there
love the
then,
look of that
yeah.
right there.
I
What was
assume
that?
you grew up in Florida.
Yeah, I grew up born and raised, or born in Tampa, raised for the majority of the time in Tampa. Moved to Pennsylvania for a while. Most of my family's technically from Pennsylvania, so I have both in me, the kind of the northern stuff and the southern
Nice.
stuff. But most of my time's been spent in Florida.
That's fair. Much nicer weather than for sure. But
I like the cold. I that's the one thing that Pennsylvania stuck
yeah,
with me. Like I like the
I
cold.
feel like,
When it gets down to 20 to 30 degrees, obviously it can get colder in
yeah.
Pennsylvania, but I'm saying like here, I just look forward to that. It happens for 2 days out of the year, and those I'm the happiest boy for 2 days.
I guess
And then it's back up to 80
yeah, it
degrees.
depends on the type of cold, right?
Yeah.
Like up here, we're right off the lake, so the cold we get is like it's like wind chill cold, right? It goes right
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
Where we have much colder parts of Canada, and that if you ever go to Calgary, actually I don't have to do a conversion. It's -30 sometimes there, which is the same in
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
Holy cow.
Which I learned, and my beard was just frozen from my breath. Yet there wasn't so much of a wind chill, so as though it was terribly cold, but
It's
yeah, like
different.
you can live with it. Where the cold here, I don't know, it cuts right through. Like you can wear whatever you want, like it just finds its way through to your flesh.
Yeah, to
So
your
it's
bones.
not a fun
Yeah.
experience.
That doesn't sound like it. Yeah, here the bigger issue is it's
Yeah,
wet. It's typically
that's
wet,
fair.
and so it's freaking cold. And then I'll go up to Pennsylvania, and it'll be the same degrees, but I'll be out in shorts and a t-shirt because it's like a slightly different. It's like a drier
Yeah.
cold where I don't feel. It's not like sitting on your skin. It's just not. It's just really
Yeah,
brisk.
exactly. Yeah, it's all about humidity in that, right? That's what
Yeah.
makes it different. So here it's just, yeah, it's exactly that. It just clings to your skin and makes you cold, right? Or when it's a dry
Mm-hmm.
cold, it's like, yeah, you cover up, you're good. You can chill outside if you're
Yeah.
wearing the right clothes. Yeah, it
Yep.
really depends. But yeah, I've done Florida through some of those, again, not a bad storm, but I've been there like in the rainy season. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
something else when you're from Toronto and we get 1 day of rain.
Oh, it's the amount of times that I've seen people like freak out at the lightning storms
Yeah.
here. And to me it is all I know is, oh, it's storming outside. This is what a storm is. It's just nonstop lightning with just loud cracks and booms, and then the power goes out, and then it comes back on, and then it flickers off again, and it's just chaos. And also, it happens out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It'll be like sunny outside, and then the next thing you know, you just hear,
And you're in the midst of
we're
it.
like, what in the
Yeah.
heck is going on? And we'll look outside, we're like, oh, it's storming, cool. And but yeah, I've had relatives come from Pennsylvania and stay with us and things like that. And it'll be a bad storm and a one bad crack of lightning with a thunder after it, and they piss their pants. It's funny. They're just like, what was that? That was just lightning, man. It was just cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Built different, right?
You're
Yeah.
just fine. Yeah, yeah. In all honesty, it's that's why I do agree we're the Australia of America, but that's not even doing Australia justice though, because Australia is
Yes.
nuts. But we're
Yeah.
getting
You'd go there and you'd be at least somewhat prepared relative to
yeah.
folks
Hmm.
on there. Yeah. That makes sense. Right on. So your partners with what is it? It's Bentbox, right? It's in Florida. Is that like you guys are all local, know
Yeah.
each other?
Yeah, my buddy actually. So my I founded Bentbox a little while ago. My buddy John Shell was actually doing comics on his own separately, and we were actually high school friends. So we've known each other for years. I'm 35, he's 34. We've known each other for almost a decade at this point, or no, almost 2 decades at this point. But yeah, he made a couple cool comics, and they were really interesting and really inspiring, awesome to see. And it was cool seeing him. And he talked about it as I created this. Obviously, with an artist, he's a writer. But it was just cool being able to see that I have something that is now in the world, and there's not a ton of mediums that do that or that are such a. It's not even an easy access though, because it is difficult. But video games or movies or anything like that,
Yeah.
it's a different type of thing. So seeing him do that, I've always been a creative person myself. I thought it was awesome. And so I was like, man, I wouldn't mind trying this. So I wrote Artificial, which you said it was critically acclaimed, and I really appreciate that.
Right, yeah.
Uh, but that was a fun book I wrote, and then we talked, and we're like, why don't we? Right now, we're doing everything apart. I was like, right now, we're just like making our own stuff. I was like, what if we just combined our efforts and formed like a studio, so that's kind of what we did. So we co-founded it, or I founded it, but now we're co-owners in Bentbox Comics, and we're slowly growing, which has been really exciting. We have a gentleman from Scotland who published his book with us. Star Million is how he's
Yep.
called on social media, John Orozco. But he did Orium, which actually a lot enjoyed. I thought it was great, which is the main reason why I courted him. I was like, I like the idea. Why don't you publish it under Bentbox?
Nice.
That was really cool. And now, right now, we actually have something. Sorry, we do not have it live right now. It would have been live 3 months ago. But as time works. But anyway, we do have a couple other people in the works who are joining with us and trusting us with their IPs. And one of them, Jeff Morris, he actually lives in Florida as well, but he's currently studying to be like an emotional psychologist or psychiatrist. Sorry if I messed that up. But anyway, it's a very interesting thing he's looking to do, healing through art. And one of the things he did was he wrote a handful of comic stories, compiled them into a anthology called True Believer, and that's
I've seen that around, I think. Yeah.
that was successful on Kickstarter. So that's under Bentbox. We're just really excited. We have a lot of stuff going, but yeah, it's spearheaded at the moment with my buddy and myself.
So, is your vision to become like the next, like, you say Image because that's the big one, but even like Mad Cave is a good example because they started, and they're really starting to come out of their shell now, right? And getting all this singing.
Yeah.
Is that the end goal, or is it just we just wanted a home to tell our stories and brought some people along?
A little bit of both. Obviously, you guys don't really know me too well, but like anyone who does know me knows that, especially that's my wife. If I have an idea, it tends to just spiral out of control. Sure. Typically, I don't really think small. I just never been a think small guy. It's always been like, okay, I want to make a comic book. That's step one. And my next thought is like, and then I'll make a publishing house where I'll publish a bunch of other people's comic books. And then I was like, why am I even thinking? You know what I mean? It's one of those things
You're
where
4 steps ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been always like an entrepreneur type person where I want to work for myself and so I do think I'm coming for you, Matt Cave.
There's room for everybody.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mind working this company in a way to where we're just like a really cool indie, a home for. And then if you got 1 second, I'll even tell you a broader idea that we had because we really wanted to set ourselves apart from other people and other companies or other publishers. So we started brainstorming this idea, which depending on when this airs, it might already be implemented. We'll see. But we came up with an idea for Comics for a Cause, which is going to be our main, like the tagline for the company almost. Okay. But the main reason we came up with that, it was, as much as many people know, indie comics is 99% drama and 1% drama. And so it turned into, okay, how do we set ourselves apart? How do we become not associated with drama or hate or issues, or we're just cool stories. We're just like time travel and fantasy and wands and all this cool stuff. So we came up with Comics for a Cause, but basically that is us trying to give back to different charities because we started noticing that a lot of our comics in some way or another had some form of through line that intersected with like trauma or and I'll give you a quick example. My partner John's, his recent book Blossom is all about him losing his daughter before she was born. So that was a very difficult time for him, but he wrote this book and he ended up giving it away technically for free because what he did was he just all the funds that went towards the Smile Train Foundation, which is something that helps kids with cleft lip and palate all around the world. When he did that, we took a step back and said, what if we just did that as a company? Not all of our books will be 100% non, but basically, like right now I'm writing a book, which depending on when this airs, it might be live, called Refuge, where it's very easily applied to displaced refugees around the world. It'd be a really cool book to try and find a way to get it into the hands of refugee children because it's going to be like an all ages adventure. So that would be a kind of a charity I would look for to basically tie the book refuge. So anyway, that's a lot of fluff to just say that we have a couple different ideas for how we want to proceed as a company. And as you said, become the next Mad Cave or anything like that. But at the same time, we do want to just develop a library of very talented people and their works, give them a place to tell really cool stories. And then if there's a way for us to make a difference in the world with our stories, that'd be cool too. So that's our it's the goal
That's
of
awesome.
ours. But we're still babies, we're still young, we're trying to figure it out and see how that will work.
Yeah, man, that's a very ambitious in a really cool, different way. Yeah, I respect that. That's pretty awesome. That's.
I appreciate
I
it.
hope it works out. I haven't heard,
Me too.
especially when you're talking about creative stuff, outside of the odd day or something. What is it, Red Nose Day or whatever day?
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
one-off,
Yeah.
and then we move on with our lives. But there's very few examples of organizations that are like consistently like this is our mission statement. There are some, of course, but they tend to be more product than creative.
Right.
Right? Yeah, it's what is it? I guess Patagonia doesn't count. No, they wouldn't count. I'm trying to think of an example, but there's definitely companies out there that their mission is to do some good while also providing a product, but very rarely do you see it with
Yeah.
a media company. So it'd be really cool, yeah, to see that, especially in comics. Like that just doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's what I wasn't sure if it would be viable or something we could do. But yeah, the more we talked about it, just like, yeah, my buddy John, yeah, like I said, he's like, this is about me losing my daughter. I have a story that I'm writing about suicide. I mean, they're heavy
Yeah,
topics that a lot of our stories in some way, shape, or form. Once we started, once we sat down and looked at all of our stories, we're like, man, this is heavy. I was like, it's shrouded in fantasy and
sure.
whimsy and stuff and beautiful art and quirky characters. But then when you look at it, like even Artificial, the main reason behind Artificial was I call it a love letter to human creativity, especially with AI art being so popular now and just trying not to lose our. And what makes us human is being able to create. So that's even one where I've given a lot of comics away and I want to partner with like maybe a local art foundation that would be a good fit for them,
Yeah,
like give some of the proceeds of Artificial to them. So yeah, it did turn into this thing where we're already doing it. We're already themed in that way.
yeah,
We're themed in a way of our stories are multifaceted. They're not just your normal superhero stories, even though I do have one. I have one right now that I'm writing that deals with Alzheimer's, and that's dedicated to my people in my family. So that I would love to go towards Alzheimer's research, like the book itself, like profits. So it's a lot of cool things that I think we're doing, and it really works out, like you said. But I am captive to my never-ending, like just the wheels in my
sure.
head. That hamster won't stop spinning, and I guess I'll follow it this way for
Yeah,
now.
you know what? Like, even
You
if it
know,
doesn't in the long run become whatever as big as you had hoped, or it doesn't quite hit exactly what you're doing, a lot of good in the meantime. Yeah, there's
hopefully, yeah.
only so much downside to what you're doing because it sounds like you're gonna help a lot of people on the way, even if you don't overtake Image and
Yeah,
become
I hope so.
the third biggest company, right? Like, there's still a lot of good
Just
in
watch
between.
out, man. Just just give us a year or
Yeah,
two. That's all we
yeah.
need.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah,
Yeah, it was in like 2
it
years.
was
That's when it was
built in
built, and
2 years.
I
That's
will be
right.
there.
Oh man.
Yeah, we'll see. I appreciate it though. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're
Nice,
doing.
nice. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Again, I haven't heard anything like that, at least in this spectrum of things. So that's really cool. Um, okay, so just I see Roberto's already on to the refining stage because we
Yeah,
abandoned him with the
only one
story.
panel.
Yeah.
It looks about what my nightmares were showing me. So like that, it's pretty
I
darn
feel like
close.
we have a great final panel here. How do we lead up to this moment? Is the question.
Or maybe it's just the cover and we need the whole story.
Yeah. I feel like this is a good final panel. No, that's just me. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, that's a good final panel. Or yeah, I don't really know because what were we? It's single page, right? Just one
Yes.
page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, my mental image of it was very much just like an unassuming stroll with your dog kind of situation, But then seeing, like you said, like right now, that's very representative of what it was. It was just lights everywhere across the yard, and it was creepy. But the only way to make this panel hit correctly is to show what those lights, what those dots are. Because right now they could just read as, other than the mother spider eyes, you could kind of
Yeah.
associate with it. But
Okay.
I think you need that zoom in panel of a little baby spider on like a blade of grass,
Yeah, like
and
he
then the
he
pole.
goes up to it with the little flashlight, maybe.
That's what I
Yeah,
did.
there you go. Use
That's
that,
exactly what happened.
and then that causes the okay. So panel wise, what are we looking at? Maybe like an establishing shot. He's walking down the street, forest on one side, houses on the other, or something. Tell me if I'm going the wrong way here.
No,
And then he sees something, and then we see the spider up close on the blade of grass, and then I don't know, we could have the dog react or him react, and then it's that. So that would be what, 5 panels?
and this could be even something that your lettering requirements are going to be pretty low here, because you could have it maybe like you said, he looks down, sees the fine detail of, oh, it's a spider, and then the reveal of the lookup over I don't know, a wide shot or how that would look, but of all the dots, like to where he goes, oh, there's dot, and then maybe a shot of the dog, like woof, just into the forest, and then that's your final shot. I don't know how that, if that would
Yeah,
work,
Roberto.
because that's really all the lettering you'd need would be a wolf.
Yeah, hey, wordless or close to it is always welcome, because that's if you can tell the story with no words, then you're doing something right. It feels like cheating,
That's
but
it does. I know. That's what Refuge is. Which is real. Sorry to keep
no,
plugging
please.
it, but that one for refugees. No, it's about a boy soldier, a kid soldier in like the Soviet Russia era that is escaping the battlefield and ends up finding refuge in a cave in the side of a mountain, and then he finds a monster in the cave. So it's like this beast, and so it leads to this big adventure. So it's cool, and it takes you out of the world of the war. So there's many layers and facets to why it's this way, but it's mainly an all ages tale that kids. But I also wanted to make it to where it's boundless when it comes to. I'm writing it with no words, because in theory, a Russian or Ukrainian or some type of Soviet era child would not be able to really communicate with a beast. So in theory, like the whole setup for the comic doesn't really lend to communication or talking or dialogue. So it is just this adventure without dialogue, which has been challenging to write, but it's been fun. And then also, like you said, you almost feel like it's cheating, because I'm like, wait, am I a writer?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a writer.
It's like the artist is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
Oh yeah, I'm describing the crap out of these panels. Okay, they're very well described.
Yeah.
And that's about as all as I can do.
Nobody will ever
this.
see it.
Yeah. And then the pacing, I guess, is part me, but that's it.
Yeah.
But it almost does feel like cheating. But that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go with no words at all. Was one was to challenge myself, and secondly was to I could give it to a refugee from some war or anything that might be happening, and they would be able to read it just as well as anyone
it's
else.
universal at that point, right?
Yeah, that was my goal with
save
it.
on translation costs.
And letterers and everything.
That's a good point.
No offense, letterers. We love you. I love you. But I'm just saying, as indie creators,
you got to cut costs.
Trying to make it work.
Yeah, I do my own lettering for that reason, and
I'm thinking of dabbling into that as well, because I want to see if I can.
Yeah, you got to take it seriously. I find that if you don't follow the rules, like you'll get caught pretty easily. Even if I tried something and got nailed for it, because I left the punctuation off I was letting the bubbles be the balloons be the punctuation, and a handful of people are just like, why is there no punctuation? Because it doesn't look right. Like I did it on purpose, but everybody thought it was a mistake, and then it just it snowballed from there.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, for artificial, I had my main artist Gabriel. I had him do all the lettering, and it was funny because he said, I was like, I guess I got to find a letterer, and I said, wait, have you ever lettered before? And I'm just talking to him, and he goes, no, I've never lettered. And I was like, I think you could do it. And he goes, I guess I could try. And I'm like, I honestly do think you could do it. And the reason why I want you to do it, and this is I started to pitch him on it, was like, you've already done the art. You know exactly the pace for the spacing that we have available, because you're doing the art. So like you can build the panels around the bubbles that are needed, because you also have the script. I was like, it might just be easier if you do it. And so he gave it a shot, and I love his lettering. I think he did a fantastic
Nice.
job. But there were some moments where, yeah, he was. I could tell he was like just taking he was just doing something that looked cool.
Yeah.
Which when you said that, I was like, that sounds cool. I'm sorry, I feel like comics are it's the world of make believe. You can do whatever. If you want to make bubbles that are the dot or anything like that's interesting. I like that idea. I'm going to steal
Go
it.
for it.
And so it was cool having Gabriel kind of test the waters, and he would be like, I don't know if this is good or not. And I would look at it and be like, I'm sure someone would have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. And so we literally developed the rule of cool that as we started making comics together, we had a handful of times where we're like, I don't know which is better. I was like, which one's cooler? And he goes, this one's definitely cooler. I was like, that's the one that wins.
Yeah.
I was like, because if we don't have a reason not to or a reason to, rule of cool.
Nice. I like that.
So anyway,
I feel like as long as as long as you know the rules and like why they exist, feel free to break them all. It's indie comics. This is the whole point. Right? There's no real expectation in terms of if I'm picking up Superman, there's certain things I'm expecting to see when I pick up my Superman comic.
When you see something that's a little like quirky or out of the norm, it shouts at you almost. Like you just notice it immediately. But when you pick up an indie comic, that is one of the things I really like about indie comics is I don't know what's going to
It's open season, right? Do whatever. Look, I want to see something different, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why you're at an indie comic. Otherwise you'd be at Superman.
Yeah.
It is cool that way.
I don't know if you saw that recent Superman issue where he bites a gun in half. That was a bit much. But
no, I didn't.
That was an example of that doesn't make sense. He had so many other means of destroying that gun. You didn't have to chew it. Anyway.
Have you seen it before? No. Okay, so it's original, and they're trying to do things. I guess.
There's only 75 years now or something. You can only tell some stories. Anyways, so fair enough.
Yeah. How many times has he bitten a gun in half? I don't know. one time, and then that's it. That's the last time.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. That's it.
It's been done.
We tried something.
Oh man. But so I know you got your books on Globalcomix too. How is that working out for you? Finding an audience there, or?
I think so. I do really like the app of Globalcomix. It's really intuitive and it's easy to use, and the audience that we're finding there, I don't know. I feel like they're jumping between our titles pretty easily, which is kind of cool.
Good, yeah.
So the whole infrastructure seems really nice. I've actually had DMs with Chris, the owner, just talking about features and stuff. And so he's really down to earth and cool. And he's not like in his ivory castle yet until it gets too big.
They just got DC libraries, so that's kind of...
Yeah, so he's building the ivory castle. So it's being built one publisher at a time. Marvel, it's up. He's on his throne. There he is. I see him up there now. But it's a really cool app, so I highly recommend everyone go get it. Also, we are using it. The cool thing about it is they made it in a way to where it's also very friendly for. So as long as you utilize it correctly, like you can put right now 3 months ago, whatever, we have True Believer on there, and my book Our Monsters, and John's book Wingless, and a handful of others that we started to utilize it this way. But we have 365 followers. Hopefully by now, whenever this airs, we'll have more, but we've been steadily growing, which is cool. But it's almost working as an email list as you would do traditionally. Because in this way, we can just upload the 5-6 page short preview, the Kickstarter. You just upload it to Globalcomix as a preview, and then you link it directly to your Kickstarter. And so people can read it on Globalcomix, see it in digital format, which is also cool. It's better than seeing it on a page where you just see it there. But this way, it's interactive. You swipe or you roll or scroll or whatever you have it set for. And then people go, oh, okay, I like this. They click the Kickstarter link. They back it. Also, if we have 365 followers and we publish a preview, all 365 followers, unless you can unsubscribe, similar to an email blast. But they all get notified. Bentbox Comics, new publishment under Bentbox Comics. And then they see that. They go see it. So I feel like it should be used. Basically, it's one of those things. It's a tool right now that we're using as best as we can, and I highly recommend everyone do that. so far it's treating us pretty well. We're growing very quickly, like 2 to 3 followers a day is our average. Sometimes we have more than that. And we also are using it as a way to showcase we have a couple of comics on there that are free. So that's been fun to see that. Obviously, free goes like gangbusters.
Yeah.
That's
that gets people in the
yeah. Like John. Technically, our most popular comic right now is "Worlds Forgotten" by John Shell, my partner. I think that's just hit 6,000 views, which isn't astounding by any means. There are people in there with 100,000 views, but I think it's only been up there for 6 or 7 months, and we just now are starting to get steam. So like
it's starting to get pushed here and there, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and Globalcomix. One time we put something up. I literally DM'd the owner of Globalcomix. I was like, "It'd be really cool if this was featured on your homepage." And he sent back, "Done." And I go and check, and he featured it real quick, which is cool. I'm not. Hey, Chris, I'm sorry if I'm blowing up your spot.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a whole bunch of folks doing that already.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Especially when you make yourself like accessible, like he does, and like down to earth. People will be like, "Yo, bro."
Yeah, like even in the
put my comic
Discord
on
and
the front
that,
page.
they're like all over it. So yeah, they're very accessible.
Yeah, but it is really cool though. Like the fact that he was like, "Yeah, I got you," and he shows off Indy and DC at the same rate, which is just really cool.
I think that really
highly
helps.
recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. Then I think
because you had your most recent one on there for under the same thing, right? With the Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. I did
the same
under concept. So it was a preview pages, and then that would lead to the Kickstarter. And yeah, that was my best performing Kickstarter. So I'm sure that had a part in it. Because
you're just using as much of an audience as possible in every way you can. You have an audience here and there. So
exactly. Yeah, the one thing I think that there needs to be a little more strategy. So if you're coming from like the indie author world, like they know their platform, like Kindle Unlimited, all that stuff. Like they can tell you the ins and outs of that platform so clearly, and so all of the strategies and how you should plan to write for it. I feel like we need that for Globalcomix. We need the strategy people to start saying, this is how readers come to the platform. This is how you'll find more success and all that business. We don't have that. So we're all still in this experimental stage.
Well, it's new. But yeah, I will say that I think if you step back and look at it, I hope it doesn't go full webtoons, but it is dabbling in the verticals with that feature, which does seem to be one of the hottest features that they have.
Yeah, I don't love it personally, but I get it.
Exactly. No, same. But like you said, when you go, okay, what's the strategy? What kind of tips and tricks should I be using to make sure this whatever I put on this platform? It also is just doing your own research to a certain extent, where you go, holy crap, this verticals are doing very well. So, man, should I? Trust me, I've already like mentally been like, do I need to completely change artificial into a vertical just for this app? And I'm like, oh gosh, that sounds like a nightmare, but I'll do it if I should. It's fun.
Been there, had that thought. Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyways, Roberto.
I was going to say that. How do you think about this layout? But I think the spider on the third panel, we should remove it and leave it to the end.
I agree.
Okay.
Good try.
Yeah, the reveal. Like we need to have the reveal, right?
Yes. And about webtoons, I have a friend that designs the page in fixed panels so he can put them vertically. But all the pages look the same, but then he rearranged them to make them vertically.
Yep, I've heard people say that. They're like, if you're going to do vertical webtoons, just make sure you format your whole comic. That way it's good to be translated into webtoons. I'm like, that's not what I want to do, though.
Yeah.
Artificial, like I told Gabriel, make this as
Yes.
So the amount of like regular square panels aren't very often.
Yeah, but I tried webtoons and it's a different narrative because on comics you can use the time of the long panels horizontally, but you can make a landscape or so on. But when you work vertically, it's
different.
Yeah, the time lapse is from the sky to the ground and not, or maybe a big space, but you cannot do like a visual panning horizontally. It's different.
Yeah. That's
There,
just the art piece of it. If you're talking
yes,
specifically
Yeah, true.
webtoons, it's like they have a very specific market that they're
Yeah.
catering to that doesn't necessarily cross over with comics. Although it's trying to do that. I think Vault is the one publisher that's like going
Yeah.
all in, just everything's vertical. Like we're just gonna do
Yeah.
it. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, but I feel like they're two different markets. Like I feel like the webtoons folks are there for their like slice of life and romance and whatever, and the
Yes.
things that you're not
yes.
getting in comics. So it's yeah,
Yeah. That's
thing.
probably right. Yeah.
But we'll see. I think DC actually they took Hush and they're doing like a vertical version of that. That was their thing when they came to Globalcomix was to do some
Hmm.
conversions. I don't know what the uptake is on that. They did really well with their webtoon stuff though, but again, they went to webtoon creative and said, "What would you do if you had Batman?" And it became that what is it, Batman Family Adventures?
Yeah. Yeah. My wife loves
Yeah.
those. She loves
But you know
them.
what? Those converted into books really well too. I was at the little
Yeah.
shop here flipping through just because I had read it on webtoon and I wanted.
Well,
Yeah, they look
yeah.
really
Well,
good.
like vertical to like
Yeah,
traditional, easy
that's fair.
transition.
Yeah,
Traditional to vertical is unless you are going with that pure like whatever 6 panel, 9 panel format of just this is
yeah.
pages, nothing crosses ever.
No
It's
two
like,
page spreads.
man, I
Those are
don't know.
impossible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Ugh.
fair.
I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a again, it's good as long as people are reading some form of the format. You would hope when they get
Oh, for sure.
tired of what they're reading, they can jump over and read some other stuff that's more traditional.
Yeah.
But like, it's like the bigger the tent, the better it is for everybody. But that said, I don't understand it fully. I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. No, same. That's why I'm still new to this. And I don't know if I put enough emphasis on the fact that I just got into comics like 2 years
Yeah,
ago. So I'm very new to everything. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm just, it's the same. I'm like seeing this. Oh wait, what's webtoons? Oh, okay, cool. What's verticals? Okay, it's very
yeah,
similar. Okay, and then I'm seeing the audiences they're pulling, and then I'm more used to traditional. It's just learning everything, and then on top of that, you have TikTok, and we're not even talking
oh
about
my
social
goodness.
media and stuff. All the stuff that we're constantly having to
Yeah.
learn,
Oh yeah, with this
and
podcast,
it's
I've learned a lot of social media hacks and tricks and things, and right. That
there
it's
you go.
just yeah, it's you have to
Cool.
learn as you go, and then you just hope you catch a wave. That's the key thing. So hopefully, with Global Comics, we're in the right spot to catch that one.
Yeah, yeah, because it's still pretty young. So that's another reason why John and I jumped on it. Like as soon as we were pretty late to it, a lot of people were still, it was already pretty
Sure.
established, but still just seeing with Comixology kind of going down and everything like that, we're like, all right, let's make a post. We literally discussed making a Twitter post where we're like, we're all in on Global Comics and we tag Global Comics and we're like, we put a free comic up there right now. And that was a strategy. Like
Of
that
course. Yeah.
worked. People came, we got like I think we were at like 3 followers that day. We jumped to 50, so like people just came and saw it. It was pretty cool. So I think, like you said, I think we're jumping on the wave. The wave had already started a bit, but hopefully we're early enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get some good
I
benefit
think
out of
with
it.
the introduction of the like mobile app, because I don't know about you, I have my two ways of reading the digital comics. I got my monitor
Mm-hmm.
that's turned portrait wise, so when I really want to appreciate the art and all that business, but most
Mm,
of the time I'm
nice.
on my tablet, right? And
Yeah.
until they had the app, it was a little bit of a pain through the browser, and that it was doable, but the app
Yeah.
changed everything, right? It is such a
Yeah.
it's the experience that we lost with Comixology returned, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can build my library and my read list and all that business, and it's all in one spot. And I can take it everywhere. Like it feels like a return to form. There's still the odd thing missing, but it's that plus all the indies are like truly a part of it this time. Where
Yeah.
Comixology, it was good. Like you could do your self publishing, you could get in there, but you're in your own container. Here's
Yeah.
all the main books from this week from your LCS, right? And then here's the indie
Yeah.
stuff if you're bored. Like if you've run out of stuff, you can go in this weird corner, this weird dark corner. Where here it's like you mentioned, we're in the midst of it. There's DC, and then there's a bunch of indies, and then there's the Mad Cave stuff under that, and then more
Yeah.
indies, and then right. So it's nice to
Yeah.
see.
I think it's just the guys understand what they need to do, which is really cool. Like I'm talking about like the uppity ups and the people in charge of the
Yeah,
app, Chris and all those involved. I think they understand. So yeah, putting us all on, to a certain extent, a level playing
Yeah.
field within the app is awesome. And so that's what I think is going to help it grow, because you're also making the platform enticing to people who, it makes me think of Matt Garvey. I Took a Hammer to Hell and all those that he's done. So I might be shooting myself in the foot, but I don't believe he's on Globalcomix. But
I don't think so.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stand on my word. If I'm wrong,
he might be by the time this comes out. Who knows?
Perfect. You know what? By the time this comes out, I want all Matt Garvey's books under Bentbox Comics on Globalcomix. See that, Matt? I hope you hear this. But like that kind of thing where I see him and he's got a nice following and everything. So I want him to utilize it almost. I wouldn't mind reading his books on my phone, like in a way that's easier to read and more accessible. So
and he's super generous with his stuff too. Like he's always, hey, this is issue 2, so here's issue 1 for free. So he's very.
I think that's rubbed off on me a bunch, and to a point where, you know, I don't know if that plays into the whole. I'm not saying it's a charity, but like the whole idea of like just trying to give more than we take has been like our theme. But I think that probably started with Matt, because before I started getting into making comics, I think I brought Hammer to Hell 1. I really liked it, but and then I was following him, and yeah, like you said, he's very generous and stuff like that. So then I started noticing myself doing that all the time. I can't remember, what was it? John Shell, my partner, he recently had a Kickstarter. I think I threw like just a bunch of my comics into the box. Nice. If so, just for free. Oh, they backed this book from Bentbox. Here's take 2, and one of those. And for all I know, it's some money that I'm throwing in the box. But at the same time, maybe I'll get another reader, another fan for more IPs, stuff like that might work in my favor. But at the same time, I'm also just, hey, read my stuff. It's free. Here, I have it. What do you think?
Yeah, playing the long game.
You know, I'd rather just like shower you in gifts. That's what I'd rather do.
It's a good strategy. I've heard it before too. I've heard it. There's a guy here, Sean Daly, in Toronto. And
sounds familiar.
Yeah, every convention I've seen him at, every panel, he says exactly that. He's like, just give your stuff out for free, and then the money will follow. Which I haven't done it myself. It's very hard to do, but I appreciate the concept where a reader is more important than a customer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. If I can get a fan out of it, if I can get I think that's a great point, and I feel like you could find a way to encapsulate it in a quick saying in some way. If only there were writers on this podcast. But like, I'm sure, like, just the concept of, if I could buy a reader for $10, that's nice. If I could buy a fan for $10, you know, or whatever the difference would be for giving a poster on top of it, or a sticker pack, or another comic. Oh, you bought one, and then I've actually done this many times recently, where it's people have bought Artificial 1 and Artificial 2 is out, and they're like, yeah, I mean, I got $10, I'll buy Artificial 1, it looks cool, maybe I'll buy Artificial 2 later. Someone, is it online? They'll ask all those questions. I'm like, yeah. And then before they leave, I'll just put it in the bag. Here's Artificial 2. And they're like, are you serious? They're like, yeah. I was like, I want you to know how it goes. That way, when Artificial 3 comes out,
you're there. Yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah. See, I'm just getting your money later. But that is, I think there's something to that strategy, to be generous and passionate, that you're not just necessarily in it for the money. And I think it translates with the typical person. When I go, hey man, here, just have something for free. Have something that I made. I think they appreciate it. At least I hope so.
Yeah. No, it's smart. I'm impressed. My worry with that is always not having a back catalog as strong. I'm doing okay now. I've got about 4 books out there, but that's the thing. It took me a while to get to 4. So as much as I understand the strategy, I appreciate the strategy, I've been hesitant to follow it, because if I give the thing away for free, I have nothing to lead them into.
True.
So
no, I
feel like
it.
You need time to get there. But when you have that catalog that you can point people to and say, like, you'll get issue 1 free if you, and then
no, I totally agree with that, because you do have to have the ability to give away stuff for free, because if you don't have anything, what are you giving away for free? There's a give and take that needs to be done. Which back to that earlier question a while ago, was like, what was the plan with Bentbox and to be Mad Cave, yada. technically what it first started out as was I did recognize that as a not a problem per se, but a hurdle that the average indie creator has to jump over. Is, hey, I made a book 4 years ago. The second one's coming out maybe next year. Like, it was that kind of thing, and I could see it happening. I could see I was gonna too, because of just money. It costs money, everybody. I don't know if you understand this, but it costs a lot of money actually. But it's well worth it for Roberto to be here to take our money. I will give you money gladly. That's what I did for Gabriel. I was like, man, you deserve this money. I was like, let me pay you as much as I can, because that there wouldn't be a book without them. So all that said, though, I noticed that as a hurdle, and I was like, okay, John, why don't we merge? I was like, that way Bentbox now doesn't have artificial; it has artificial, and the last one. And he's okay, yeah, I could see that being a benefit. And then we decided to look into publishing, because then it would be basically just adding more to the library in a way to where hopefully maybe we're just sharing readers. And that's what we're doing. So we brought Orium on, and he's or Starmillion on with Orium. And slowly we grew the catalog over the last 2 years to, I think we have 12 books out in 2 years.
That's amazing.
But that's what it was, though. You know what I mean? I recognize the same thing, and I was going in the same spot. But I was curious if there was a way to almost band together. And I haven't courted you yet. That's what I've been doing. I've almost been grinding in a way of, hey, man, this is really good. I like what you're doing here. Roberto might remember this.
Yes, I do.
I'm about to say, Roberto and I actually have some history.
Nice.
So I really like Voyager. It looked, so what I get attracted to is the art style. Voyager has a very unique art style. I wasn't even necessarily familiar with the story as much as just I enjoyed looking at the page. If I enjoy looking at the page and then the story, great. And I think that can also work with other readers. So that's where I'm just looking for potential kind of deal. So yeah, I tried to get Roberto to join. So that's what we're doing, though. If you can see it, though, is, hey, you got some really good stuff. If there's a way for us to, like, indies, almost like creating an indie collective, where our main goal is for crowdfunding your own stuff. I'm not really doing anything. I will help edit. I will help. We're almost working together, almost like it's very socialist. Like, we said we wouldn't do politics, but that's my one thing with politics.
Oh, wow.
Is that we're basically like we're a bunch of socialists. Where I will be like, hey, I've had a couple people, hey, can you look over my book? I'll do it for free. We are part of the same group. I know it's kind of an interesting thing, but to where I will help edit. If I have an issue with something with my book, I'm going to send it to you. You'll give me feedback, and more heads are better than one. So that's how we're operating at the moment. So that was necessary. That was basically the reasoning behind creating Bentbox, was seeing that I'm only going to have 1 or 2 comics out in the next 4 years. I was like, and that, I don't know if that's enough to have people stick around for what I'm offering. But if I can offer mine along with 4 other people's, and people go, man, Orion was really cool. Oh, snap, they got this too? Let me check that out. And then hopefully it snowballs, and we have enough people, we have enough content available to where it keeps them busy. And then we can go, oh, Artificial will finally come out number 3 next year, but they've had so much to feed on since then that it's not an issue. So that's my thought.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the older style of doing things. Like, I'm thinking more even like the magazine style, where you would read whatever story is in the magazine this month. It might be 3 months until you get the next chapter, but there's always something coming out.
The next month has something. And so now you're reading that.
So it's kind of like that idea without the magazine part of it. But that's the concept that, you're always getting a story from this group, this collective, right? It just may not be the same one every month. Like we've been spoiled with the big 2 and that. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like the approach.
I appreciate it. I'll send you an email shortly with a proposal. But we're always looking for new people to add to the collective, the nice socialist society.
I'm very hard to court. I'll tell you, Roberto can tell you, I'm very hesitant and untrusting.
No, that's okay. And so is Roberto. So you guys are about to be in heaven. So